31. Speaking of absolute power, evil, and horror, read Cobalt Red, How the Blood of the Congo Powers Our Lives. Inhumanity reigns until your humanity law. Earthbound devils, greedier, more sadistic, heartless, cruel, and horrible, inflict more agony on more innocents, not guilty, than any horned, fire-blasting monster fabled to torture the billion Christian flunkies getting St. Peter's thumbs down. Author Siddharth Kara was interviewed on National Public Radio. His story begins with Henry Ford's new mass automobile production. From the Congo's wealth of rubber trees came 4 times tires for millions of cars. Congo's top leadership extorted a fortune from tire companies to hook them up with control of labor and the rubber plantation's product. All Congo bosses did not so much move heaven and earth, but savage hell to frighten another 20% daily tree draining out of every laborer by docking their pay for underproduction. I'm kidding. Thousands were told to take a 5-minute break and rest an arm or two on a stump. With field workers needing the lesson too, watching, axes fell, not to drain more trees, but to geyser blood chopping off hands. Production spikes tomorrow, or you're next. From World Supply corporate buyer to Congo dictator to plantation masters, everyone agreed that maximum profits from not minimum but minus a billion humanity was the objective. Just my 100th story of absolute greedy powers, absolute cruel savagery. Over a century later, the Congo story remains identical. Just add this nation's priceless cobalt mines to the plot. Instead of rubber for tires, extract Congolese cobalt, essential for world booming production, electric cars, and cell phone battery recharging. Low purity cobalt is scratched out of a few places around the world, but fully half and most of the pure cobalt bursts out of only Congo's mines. China has taken over most of those mines, first massively bribing top political leaders, then removing most mine work livings from this desperately poor population by bringing in Chinese laborers instead. The few Congolese jobs left don't pay shit, naturally. The author, a comprehensive historian, reports the many world compassionate consumer movements that galvanized literally hundreds of millions to redirect their business to companies that researched and restricted their foreign source purchases away from child, slave, or otherwise labor abuse victimization. Not just your next electric car, but the cell phone stapled to your hand and crossed eyeballs recharges only with cobalt from the Congo. This'll be tough, but our treaty is going to mail 8 billion, a list of company products made by cruel torture of human beings, and the emerging list produced by manufacturers doing their best to patronize suppliers who treat original source and all supply chain workers like humans, not vermin. Motivation to hunt the big bucks we won't touch. Just make you act human to get it, fellas. If you'll all notice, our new world achieves 1,000 times surviving and thriving only on 1,000 times love and care for all 8 billion. Not just 10 millennia's top 1% tyrants savaging every single one of us to doomsday. Speaking of savagery, Sudan's latest is in its 12th month of dominant but not finally victorious war, elevating one militia over all. Dozens of other armies will remain free to rob, kill, and savage. 230,000 presently starving will soon die without rescue, control, and peace, not even on any horizon of international intervention or national human protection, help, peace, or granting of human rights from life on up. Forget worst wars 1, 2, and 3. The least bad of inhumanity's 49 pitched battles also ruin and torture families. We're happy we ain't. Today, 600,000 in Gaza head directly into famine, meaning not risk or approach, but dying now of starvation. 600 daily trucks are urgently needed. Last evening, the IDF let in 6. All negotiators have decided that months of explosive war in Rafah meets all their power goals. Soon coming corpse stench to the skies, Hamas hopes against hope will world pressure and shame Israeli IDF bombs and guns to silence, while the last 1,000 Hamas tunnel rats survive to boom 100 years more terror. The same hell Netanyahu believes necessary to starve the last Palestinian fighters around too many tunnel corners to ever shoot. Today and for months, our maximum beginning love law revolution won't touch power devils reigning supreme, nor even slow their storming death and suffering wreaked on hundreds of millions. Your beginning lifts our rocket half-length up the gantry off the pad. 5, not 5,000 miles an hour, but countless millions igniting stage 1 will ever grow, never stop. Revolution researchers tell us that only 12 of every 100, 1 billion of all 8, fully on fire can ignite and gain support, help, and votes from the other 88%. Until then, mid-2020s hell on earth remains the only roaring, rising rocket. Today's NPR drought report didn't cover the planet, only 7 Southwest American states. The ever-lowering Colorado River and the final disappearance of once giant lakes it no longer 1/3 fills, Powell and Meade. 0% of the giant region's emergency efforts focus on sourcing one new drop from anywhere. The interviewed water supply and population care expert simply surveyed the latest of decades' legal wars fighting over who gets more of the last, who less. Cut off North State's Colorado Basin and river farms, or the South Lakes empty in 2 years instead of 3. The powerless Indians have already been cut off. Leave North farmers 1 more year's irrigation by outlawing every LA garden and swimming pool. Every one of the next 30 years' accelerating disappearance of rainfall, the expert admitted to, but refused to mention the imminent certainty that his only answer, rationing, soon insanely expects a positive number from dividing 0 by 0. Do you recall my speeches reporting the same death? Not just thirst, denouement from, just southern Canada all the way down to the tip of Argentina, Europe, India, China, and Africa. Still plenty of ice on Antarctica to melt and drink. But hey, what's another 10 years of chin-stroking inaction? It ain't like total scorched in every way earth power, corruption, and TNT and nuclear bombs all explode, along with fatal thirst and starvation right around now. Your only rescue also now. Nah. Relax. Leave the big shots their 10-year power plan. Just sit down and wait for 1 billion corpses, world dead economy, no rivers or lakes, no trees, 115 degrees summer everywhere, 600 parts per million stratosphere CO2, and annual nuclear wars. Then we'll all agree it's time for the 1,000 times tougher recovery projects with zero resources, a tad late, a bit tricky, but nothing we can't handle, right? I'm thinking if I scribble and record another 15 hours instead of getting you what I got, it's already too late. Did I tell you that last year Putin's forces on the run rushed him to final days from nuclear counterattack? Helpless to restrain him, the U.S. prevailed at the last second on China and India to talk him down. Today, a handful of Republicans stonewall and prevent 70% U.S. Congress and Senate floor votes for $60 billion defense and attack resupply of Ukraine. World pressure and disastrous Ukrainian rout is about to spring that vote. Ukrainian defeat could change to Russian rout in a very few months. Today, a reporter asked Putin if he planned nuclear attack. His answer, not today. Of course, he's busting through Ukrainian lines damn near out of shells with his frickin' million from North Korea. Vlad went on. We will use nuclear weapons as soon as our territory and sovereignty is threatened. Please, no one forget that he drew that nuclear red line precisely in front of Russian-captured 18%, recently announcing his full annexation of every square mile. Mine, Russia. Break in for 2,000 mushroom clouds. Suicidal American weapons are coming to smash that line while I stew in my lonely living room, yelling stuff you may not survive to hear. Don't forget NATO's promise to storm Moscow upon Vlad's Ukraine nuclear wasting, and his plan to save 500 for them and 5,000 for Europe and America. He knew this was coming a year ago, told the world he hair-triggered everyone. Oh, you don't think what happened to silence 5 million alien failed techno experiments is due us in a day or 3? Optimism and complacency I might almost understand, but you're crazy. Insanity against our genetics and God invites murder, not survival, care, and love. Here's what you do. Force Mideast and Ukrainian ceasefires yesterday. Get started to never stop slashing nukes and conventional weapons and armies. Weapon production and sales, stop. Bribery, stop. Build a new CO2 scrubber factory daily for decades. Float 2 core sheets off of every hot water coast on Earth. Giant shore pipe every potentially flooded every couple of years coastal river on Earth. Deliver to soaker hoses over every forest tree root, or forget every other rescue. We're dead. All 8 billion. Catch and tank every roof and street gutter raindrop everywhere. Pipe ocean steam and sky river floodwater to keep every lake near every habitation full. Rain and rivers ain't gonna do it, you blind idiots. Flog your treaty worldwide to replace power tyranny of 1% with people power democracy for 100%. Treaty tenant to 8 billion, we keep reporting every remaining power savaging of anybody. Rule, stop that. Your taxes stay about the same, just spent on life and liberty, not death and slavery. Or forget all that for your 100 other priorities. Your best efforts, including your family, 100 hours a week, love and care. Still dead, hyper fast, including you. Got that? I'll leave you with K-Race's priority rule. First things first.